Hey, it's you. I got something for you. Just take a look. Hi guys, Wrenching here. Today we introduce the best Land Cruiser ever built, the 60 series. Here we are, let's get to the 61. Some facts. A little bit about the history of this car. This car is family owned, so my dad bought it like 15 years ago. Now it is owned by my brother. It is a 61 with a 12 HD engine. It was a GX, so the only accessories it had was AC and electric windows. So it had around 230,000 kilometers on it. It was actually not much, but you know, the age took the toll on this car, and also, like you know, I live in Austria, so it was rusty. It was not a rust bucket, but it was rusty. It was already once restored. I mean, that was probably 20 years ago, and they painted it in this Corolla blue, and now something different, but we will get to it later. And why do we do the restorations? The thing is, we go back what we actually wanted to do. We just wanted to do the same shit as we did on the 40, just work over it and drive it. But we started it, and then I talked to my brother, and yeah, after some talking we got to the decision we will go all out on this car, tear it down to the last part and restore it. The reason why was it had rust spots everywhere. There was not much sense into it to just do some body panels here and there and make some cosmetic on rust spots. The same was on the technical side. The engine was running, it was running not so bad, but like I said, my dad owned it or bought it 15 years ago, but before nobody took care on it, so they never changed any coolant, oil or anything. It was just a Land Cruiser, a work car for the previous owner, and he didn't care. Yeah, and that's why the full job. The biggest upset actually was 2 years ago. It started to overheat. At that point I thought it is probably the thermostat or I have to flush the engine, but in the end it was head gasket. When you do a head gasket job on a 40-something year old engine, doesn't make much sense. I mean, it does make sense in terms of just keep it driving, but it's a 12 HD, so it is not the everyday Volkswagen 1.9 liter TD engine where you drive it until it blows and then you put in a new one or a used one.
Volkswagen, das Auto.
It was a hard decision, but we had to make it because, as you know, to overdo a Toyota engine isn't cheap, because it's a Toyota, and when the engine doesn't work right, it is not reliable anymore. And I'm always, and also my brother, is the kind of guy, we drive Toyota because they are reliable. You always can trust the Land Cruiser. Let's go into it on some details what we did on this car. Let's start with the body. The most upset thing on the body of the 61 was probably the wheel archers. They were completely rusted out. I mean, it didn't look like this because there was probably per side 3 kilos bond on it. Also, the previous owner already did the wheel arches, but he didn't cut it out. He just put it over it and welded it on. Not very professional. And also the rocker panels. As you see, it has no rocker panels anymore. The same here. We shorted it a little bit to make it a little bit more off-road capable without going too wild on the suspension. But let's stay on the body. Also, I did a lot of welding on the inner side of the wheel archers. They were completely rusted out. There was a lot of underbody coating on it, so actually I didn't see it first. I think most 60 series I know, from the B-pillar backwards, they are rusty as fuck. And some have problems on the roof, but this one not. And that's why we got rid of all of the paint, to look what is underneath it. Yeah, I could have sandblasted it, I know. We will sandblast it before we paint it. But like I said, the car only had 230 on it-ish. Not as rusty as it can be in Austria. As I said, B-pillar backwards, worst spot on the 60s. So the front coil and everything is still good on this car. There are just minor rust spots in the between the sheet metal where it is spot welded, but totally okay still. Yeah, more or less that was the body. Wasn't as bad as I thought. I mean, it was bad, but not as 60 bad as it can be. The next thing I will give you some details of what we did on the frame, or I did and my brother did. Let's go to the frame. The rear cross member on the 60 was totally... They are like sheet metal, so in between there was so much rust, you could see the dent. I had to remove both rear cross members. The outer one I had to do some welding, also on the inner one actually. Other thing I had to replace was the U-shaped plates, where at least on the European versions, the hitch is attached and also the rear spring hangers are bolted through it. They were already completely rusted out. I mean, that is very common on the 60s in Europe, because the salt always stays behind the U-shaped plates. That's why they are new now. Next thing I did was remove the front spring hangers of the rear axle. It was rusted out behind it, and before it had holes in it. I mean, also very common on the European 60s. They tend to rust out, especially when you drive a lot off-road and don't wash the frame. So you have, or on this one, it was probably that high soil in it. And it was not only soil, it was a mixture between soil and salt and other shit. Sometimes I wish when I buy these cars that someone just do basic maintenance on it, or at least take pressure washer and wash it once a month, but nobody did it actually. That's why they are all in such a bad shape. The rear spring hangers I put it down, replaced it. They are not bolted anymore with bolts. They have now screws in it, or bolts. I used some heavy 10-9s M12 fine thread bolts from my semi frame to attach the hanger again. I think in terms of welding, it is everything on the frame. After the welding stuff, it was at my sandblaster. He blasted frame, and afterwards we painted it with a zinc base ground in 3 layers, and then 3 layers of heavy black. It is polyurethane based, the paint, so it should hold up, and also with the zinc ground it will hold up. Let's get to the axles. Nothing special, it is an unlocked car. It will stay now an unlocked car for some time. On the axles I did everything, bearing seals, everything is sandblasted. Brakes we used mainly on this car, because we learned the lesson on the 40 Toyota parts, so it will hold up. Not should, it will. Yeah, and that was it of terms of axles. I mean, it's just the axle, new bearing seals, and just go on. Now to the most important part of the car, or what makes it a 61, the engine. So, what did I do to the engine? The engine got a complete overhaul. Everything is new I could buy. So I had to use some used parts and some aftermarket parts on it, but the internals are everything Toyota. As I said, the biggest thing was the shot head gasket on it. I mean, it was not shot because it had too much booster, everything just aged. Just leaked water, and it used water and tend a little to overheat. It didn't actually overheat, but the temperature gauge was always in the last third, and normally on these cars they are in the first third. So head gasket was the biggest thing, and when we got into it and teared it down into parts, I measured everything. Bore was okay, crankshaft was okay, and then was the piston thing. It only had 230,000 on it in kilometers, but when I measured the pistons, this is one of the old pistons in a Toyota box with the new ones we're in. And if we look on the piston, we have here the 2 compression rings, the oil ring, and why I replaced it, it actually looks not so bad. Yeah, the play between the ring and the piston, so the piston gap, I think Toyota says 0.025, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I have the workshop manual. What I remember, they are like 0.050, so probably it is 2 times as much as it should be. It didn't use oil and it didn't make any noise, but yeah, that was the biggest chunk. Also in terms of cost, they're not cheap. Every bearing is new in the block, everything is original Toyota, everything is in size standard. I didn't have to bore it or do anything to it, nothing was really worn down. The only thing I had to replace I mean, it is part of the block or not actually. So the 12 HD, the camshaft is in the block, the rockers on top of the head, and then you have the push rods. So I had to replace the push rods on it. So the push rods were not bent or anything. So as I said, nobody did any maintenance on it before my dad bought it, and there was always a problem when you adjusted the valves on it. With the guard, they were always a little bit off because they were hammered, so the push rods were just hammered. They drove around so long with this car without adjusting the valve. It was just a pain in. Other thing we did, we replaced, of course, starter, then the good old generator. The AC is overhauled, and also we will convert the car from R12 to R134A. So it is easier to fill, because in Austria it's nearly impossible to get R12 gas. Here the turbocharger also is overhauled. Everything on this engine is actually overhauled. It was not cheap, but it is worth it. It is a 12 HD. So the next thing was the transmission, the H55F. The main transmission actually had nothing besides bearings. I replaced the bearings. Yeah, the biggest chunk was probably the transfer case. I mean, it was not worn out completely, but everything had play. I mean, if you grabbed the drive shaft, you could wiggle it and you could feel the play in the bearings. And it also made some noise, not loud, but it made some noise. So yeah, complete bearing job on the trans and the transfer case. That's it. Yeah, new clutch for sure. And that was it actually on terms of transmission. Yeah, and sure, everything is cleaned and brushed and blasted, and so it looks nice. But yeah, that's it. As next we discussed the mods and suspension tires. So the car has 285s, and it had before 285 but with a much lower suspension. Probably we will go up to 33s. Not too big, I mean, I could fit 35s easy, but Austria has a strict street law and you will get problems with the cops with some 35s, and 33s are kinda okay-ish. FBI, open up! In terms of suspension, the car is raised by 3.5 inch. I mean, it looks taller because I cut the rocker panels and everything. 3.5 inch suspension, a little bit longer shackles, just a little bit, and you can grease them now so they don't get stuck as they did before, and I have to cut it. I had actually to cut everything. That is in terms of suspension and tires, so as I said, 33s. Now we get to future mods, and what color we will do on this car will be a nice one. What is still on the list? As you see, it is a bare car, or a bare body, the rest is painted. So we have to sandblast the rest of the body, besides the roof. I don't want that the roof is falling in. And afterwards we will make also a zinc based ground on it, and then it will get painted in a polyurethane color, but we will discuss the color later. We have to paint the rest of the body panels. Half of it is already painted, half of it is still bare. And I have to cut also the fenders, because they would be too long now with the cut rocker panels. And then we have the electrical system. Nearly forgot, because I learned my lesson on the 40. And also, it is, if you do entire car, I mean, you cannot put in old wiring loom. Just looks. So I will overhaul the complete wiring loom, put some new isolation on it, look for every corroded or probably damaged wire and replace it. A big part of it, if you ever redid a wiring loom, it just takes forever. We have to paint, wiring loom, and then get it running. As I said, body, painting, paint the rest of the panels, cut the fenders, redo the wiring looms, get it running. That's for now on the list. Afterwards there will be some future mods. I mean, not only future mods, but things we will do to it. I mean, it needs an exhaust. So in terms of mods, we will do a 76mm exhaust from turbocharger to the rear with 1 or 2 mufflers. Also it gets an intercooler and a little more boost. I mean, originally it has 0.5 bars of boost, or a little bit underneath it, and we will tune it up to 0.9-ish and more fuel to get it up to 165 horsepower, around that, 170, to make it more drivable. I mean, it was already a drivable car, but to make it a little bit faster and easier to drive without killing the H55. And also, it already had a ARB bullbar and it will stay on it. It's an aluminium one. It will get a winch because a 4x4 without a winch, yeah, tends to get stuck and needs a tractor to pull it out. I mean, we will see what the future brings, but if I get some cable locked axles for it, we will put some cable locked in it just to make it the ultimate 4x4. For us, the ultimate. I mean, I know there are much better off-roaders out there. Now we will go to what color we will paint it. You will see. I fitted a door for you, so you can imagine how it will look. As I said, half of the body parts are already painted, and this will be the color. It's not the color of the 60, 80 or 70, it's the 2020 Tacoma beige. My brother loves the color. The 40 is already in the 2020 Tacoma green, and this car will be the Tacoma beige. You have to imagine the whole car in this color, with the cut rockers, the cut rear wheel arches, and some 33s on it, with a big ARB bull bar and a winch on it. It will look stunning. The next things you will see on this channel is some more Toyota content and also some DI content.
DIY.
DIY, Entschuldigung. And some DIY.
DIY.
DIY. So DEY. So on the next episode you will probably see me making a rack for my Mazda pickup. What is actually my work truck because I can't afford a Hilux. Too much Land Cruisers. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hit us up on Instagram, YouTube and our social media so our channel can grow a little bit bigger, so we can bring a lot more of Toyota content or off-road content at all, because I still have a second 61 and a 80 and a lot of other stuff for you to show and enjoy. And I hope you follow us for the next episodes on our journey. See us.